is Alice Nero. I was born and raised in Kenya. A friend knew about a family in Dubai who needed to hire a nanny, and I accepted. I was very excited and looked forward in having this job. The first day, I watched her and see her pushing and kicking and hitting the other workers in that house. We used to work as from 6 a.m. in the morning, and we can go and stay up until like 3 or 4 at night. I was being monitored with every single thing that I do. I cannot go to the bathroom. I cannot even be myself for 1 minute. They were yelling at me all the time, every single minute. The grandmother came and pushed me. She hit me on my forehead. I fell because I was holding the young girl. So just protect the girl from, hurting herself. I had to hit my elbow on the floor. We used to go days or weeks without any food in our kitchen. They never paid us our salary, so we were not allowed to have money in our hands. He never allowed us to talk to anybody. Communicating with other people, it was difficult. I really felt bad, and I was just wondering when all this thing will end. So I was just afraid what will happen if I tried to run away. I really needed somebody to talk to, but there was nobody completely to talk to. When we got to America also, she told me that if I try to run away, I'll be arrested and I'll be put to jail before I will be deported back to my country. All happened over there. There was one nanny who came to assist with the children, and when she saw what I've been through, she offered to help. I was really scared. I wasn't sure if I should trust her or not. So she made some phone calls and she gave me some money. This nanny talked to one of her friends who called the FBI. 3 days after, when I get to the apartment, there were a lot of FBIs. She told me, "Okay, Alice, we will still find you." The FBIs got my passport back and they took me to the cast shelter. When I was still in the shelter, I met Kevin Kish. He really supported me and assisted me with my case.
Los Angeles is a major port of entry for traffickers and their victims. There are a lot of people in the world who desperately need work, who want to feed their family. And there are industries and families around the world that are interested in having free labor.
But Tzedek steps forward and says, "You know what, we believe you." And that's incredibly powerful for a survivor who's been told time and time again that their story will not be believed.
When I talked to Tzedek, I also let them know that there are others who are still working in the same family, and we were all getting the same treatment.
And it was Alice's efforts. She was able to find Daisy, who had escaped a year earlier.
I wanted to escape from the beginning of my employment. You have nobody that you can trust. You don't know anyone. You don't know where to go to. You are in a situation that is very confusing.
You don't have any money because you haven't even been paid. You can't even get on a bus. You have no local contacts. You're in a situation of total isolation. That's why people don't leave.
The threats that are made against them and their family members make it nearly impossible for them to escape their situation.
It was on her 3rd or 4th trip to Los Angeles that Daisy eventually got out. They ended up at Cedars-Sinai Hospital, and it was the intervention of nurses that ultimately allowed them to escape.
After a long time of wishing to be out of my situation, I finally came to freedom. The restlessness, the fear didn't go away. At least more than a year to be able to tell my story.
We knew when we took on this case that there was no way we were going to be able to do it on our own. This case involved events that took place in the Philippines, in Kenya, in Dubai, in Los Angeles. The firm Lock Lord agreed to come on as our co-counsel, and lead attorney Susan Weldy devoted hundreds of hours to litigating this case. There is no way we could have litigated a case on this scale without their support, and particularly the dedication of Susan.
With the help of Kevin and Susan, who were both my lawyers, we won the case.
What they gave me is freedom.
Now it's time for me to start my life afresh. There is light at the end of the tunnel.
Most people, the thought that slavery exists in the United States now is unthinkable. We do have people who are being forced to work and not being paid to work.
The 17 Inc. case came to us through the city attorney's office.
Tzedek has a reputation in Los Angeles as being at the forefront of representing low-wage workers.
6 women had come forward together who had made the decision that regardless of the consequences, they were not going to stand for the conditions in that factory.
A veces nos decían que si no nos quedábamos a trabajar, nos despedían o hablaban otras ladies y pues nosotros por la necesidad nos quedábamos a trabajar las 24 horas o 36 horas.
Empezamos trabajando de lunes a domingo.
No estábamos trabajando tantas horas para que sacaran su producción.
You would be working for 36 hours straight, using the presses to create silk screens for the garments that we buy in the store.
Nos hacían firmar una hoja donde decía que habíamos trabajado las 40 horas.
As we delved a little bit more into it, we learned that the conditions in the factory were shocking.
El agua la compraban, pero la máquina no estaba limpia.
Uno tenía accidentes ahí.
Cuando uno quería agua caliente, salía con el montón de cucarachas.
Estaba lleno de ratas.
A number of different undiluted toxic chemicals were used in this factory.
No teníamos guantes, no teníamos máscaras.
There were really high levels of fabric dust in the air of this factory. There was no ventilation system. That's both toxic and a fire hazard.
Era muy incómodo caminar porque estaban llenos de bolsas en el camino.
All of the doors were closed and there was no way for them to get out in the case of any sort of emergency.
Estamos encerradas, cualquier emergencia no podíamos salir.
A veces nos íbamos o a veces un tanto nos obligaban.
Llegó a decirnos que nos iban a descansar por motivos que había bajado el trabajo, pero no era cierto.
There are very limited resources for enforcement. If you complain, you're fired.
Nos corrieron y todo injustamente y pues decidimos buscar ayuda.
Fue donde dije, no, también tenemos derechos.
Ellos nos demandaron a nosotros.
This factory decided to file a lawsuit for defamation, seeking millions of dollars of damages against these 6 low-wage immigrant worker women for having served as witnesses in the city's case. So we represented the 6 workers as witnesses in the city's case, individually in their wage claims and defending them from the retaliatory lawsuit that was filed against them.
The case settled for an amount that covered the wages for all of the employees that we had records for 4 years from the time that it was filed.
Y también ganamos esa contrademanda.
Ese dinero fue para nosotros una bendición, una gran ayuda para pagar deudas y pues más ayuda para nuestros hijos.
Tenemos como personas, tenemos derechos, especialmente en nuestros trabajos.
The greatest feeling I get in representing people is that they suddenly feel that they have an equal stake in American society, that they have a right to quality legal representation.
Sí, estoy orgullosa porque algún día les podré decir a mis hijos no quedarse callados, no tener miedo.
Contentas, nos sentíamos contentas cuando ganamos porque sentí que se hizo justicia.
The January Corporation case dates back to the early days of the Employment Rights Project.
The case had been stalled for 3 or 4 years by the time we got it.
We thought that the most important thing that we could do was devote some of the resources that we had into just bothering the Department of Labor Standards Enforcement every day until they relented and gave us a hearing.
The January Corp case was a claim by 9 former employees of a garment manufacturer. It was a claim that they were not paid minimum wage and they did not receive their overtime.
IRL really stepped up to the plate. Each of the clients had their own attorney from one of the largest law firms in the city.
The hearing room doors opened and 9 IRL and Manila attorneys with rolling litigation bags walked into the room and obviously prepared.
It was quite a scene at the Labor Commissioner's office on that day. They were able to secure another $67,000 in settlements.
It was incredibly rewarding to be able to make that kind of a difference in our community.
An outside firm like IRL were absolutely necessary to prosecute this case.
That Tzedek could never have the impact in the lives of our clients without so many valuable and committed pro bono partners.
Tzedek can't do it all by themselves.
We need support from law firms to help us partner more with cases.
We have expertise, but we rely on our pro bono partners to enable us to actually bring justice to them.
The Employment Rights Project was first started in 2001. We represent workers in the low-wage industries throughout Los Angeles County who've been unfairly denied their wages. We also provide training and outreach to workers to educate them about their legal rights. We've represented over 2,200 clients with claims of nearly $9 million in unpaid wages. And with a staff of only 2 to 3 attorneys, we've recovered $6.3 million worth of settlements and judgments to date.
More and more people these days are finding themselves in situations where their employment rights are being jeopardized. And Tzedek is the only place that they can turn to.
These are the people who are most abused in our society. We are the ones who are their voice and are able to get them justice.
Access to an attorney for our clients can mean the difference between staying in a home or becoming homeless, to eat or going hungry.
My grandparents were the kind of workers that we helped through the Employment Rights Project. My grandfather was a gardener. My grandmother cleaned houses.
My granddad was a garment worker in Philadelphia.
We are all children of immigrants.
I mean, who is there for them, really, other than Tzedek? Who is there for Tzedek? Really, that's up to us.
Tzedek would be able to do so much more with more support.
We now need that support more than ever.
We need more money to do the work that we're doing because the need is greater than ever.
The work that we do is life-changing.
The impactful work that Tzedek does would not be possible without the support of our donors.
My 22 years at Tzedek Legal Services has helped me bring justice into the community where I live.
Thank you all so much for the support that you've shown us over the years and continue to show in the future.
Our mission is to be there for everybody in Los Angeles when they need to pursue justice. That's our mission, that's our passion, that's what we're about.
Thank you for everyone who is here, who supports Tzedek.
Gracias, Tzedek, por la ayuda y que Dios los bendiga.
Gracias, Tzedek.
I'm free. I can go anywhere, anytime I want and come back home. I'm working, being paid every month, and I'm just happy.